Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. We are going to, for the next, I think, two or three maybe short videos. I don't plan on devoting too much lengthy time on this topic. But I do want to give respect and acknowledgement and at least some sense of reverence to the recent killing of Charlie Kirk just yesterday on a Utah campus. And the reason I'm wanting to at least drop a truth pebble into it is I'm wanting to make sure that no matter what, I realign a misrepresentation that often things are pointed towards Black people for no obvious cause. But before we get into that, let me just acknowledge this. Murder of anyone is never, ever, ever okay unless you're at wartime defending the country. We just don't incite and decide to kill a person, to murder a person, to assassinate a person. And my heart bleeds for him and for his family and his two small children. But I also want to recognize that when we don't agree with a person's strong opinion on something, that does not naturally make us enemies or doesn't enemize the difference of opinions. And I think that is a commonality here, particularly in this country, where we can't be safe in our opinions without being alienated or in, enemized, what I call enemized, because we don't line up with it. And this is why sometimes people don't share their views, their true views, or they just choose to be silent about those views. However, I'm just to the point myself, have elected myself to correct misnomers, correct misdeeds, voice out what's misaligned as it comes to our culture, because there always seems to be, to some degree, to point to Black people. So my talks these next couple of days is going to circle around some of the media and some of the verbiage that has come from this, and not about Charlie Kirk himself or his points of views. But since he is the target literally and figuratively, and rest in peace, I will share a little bit about him to pivot on my ultimate topic of don't come for us, it wasn't us. It isn't us again, 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 as you claim. Most people, most Black people didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was until yesterday, child. Please. Seriously, most didn't know who he was. Now, he's famous in his circle, as are many people, well known in their groove, in their circle, in their genre, in their profession, in their um, common world. So let me just give just a snippet of who he is, because many Black people didn't know who he is. Yet there is some sense of anger towards Black people for his ultimate demise. So let's just take a look at him. This from the top of my head, and I will verify some with just looking at his biography. But Charlie Kirk, from what I knew and know of him, because I am aware of him, I try to stay at least somewhat tapped in, is an author, a media guru, MAGA, MAGA, Trump supporter, co-founder of the Turning Point youth leadership, where he is strongly advocating for youth to vote and support the Trump administration and the right wing agenda. He was also what I would call a person who was highly self promoted, are self-promoting. When I would hear him in some of his debates, which he would push for a debate, that's what he was known for, was his debate. And that's what he was giving at the time that he lost his life, was a debate. But he would go into these circles so that he could expand his platform with signs that said, debate me, debate me, debate me. And despite his views, now his views were very incendiary, it was very insightful. He had a lot of racist comments that he had made many times. For example, there was a comment that he made if he ever got on a plane and a black pilot was driving, he'd say, gee, I wonder if he's really qualified, that kind of thing. He had also made a comment that he was on hold on a call by which the customer service rep was, I guess, screening his call, and he called this person he said the person was moronic and must be a black person. All of that. So all of this nonsense. Now, I do know too, sometimes people make comments just to get a charge and to use it as leverage. And so I get that point too. But nonetheless, his views on things, his political views and his perspective, I'd say, certainly didn't line up with mine, but he has a right to his point of view, as do I, even in this piece right now. So what I say to those lines of differences that we can have, just being human, the humanity piece of us, is respectfully disagree, respectfully have a debate. Why does a debate mean that you're out to, even in a professional calm tone, you're out to destroy the person beneath it all? That's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. To me, a debate should invite you to present your views on the subject and invite the other person to do the same, and hopefully seem to commingle the two, or perhaps persuade one, or perhaps educate. But it's not to destroy a person. It's not to destroy. And we've gotten to the point in this country, America, I'm talking, because I have to remember that YouTube is, World Wide Web. In this country, everything is so insightful these days. Everything is so insightful these days. Everything is so argumentative these days that even when you give your opinion, you have to give it very lightly salted or very sweet and sour, just to carefullize it. Well, the truth is the truth. And in these next couple of videos, I am going to use my temerity to tell the truth in such a way that is indisputable, okay? And that's all. So, having said that and given that information on Charlie, let's talk about his death, what I call death and demise yesterday. When I say demise, the death of a life and the demise of his continued debating and college visiting to do his debates, because that's gone. If someone else picks it up, that for him is gone. So his voice that he used, because he also had a YouTube channel by which he had, I believe, close to 2 million subscribers of his own, and then with Turning Point, another 2 million. So he had quite a few subscribers. And so Donald Trump thought he was a golden child because he brought the voice and the votes to Trump. Now, having said that, let's look at yesterday's, sorrowfully and sadly, but let's look at yesterday. He was giving a talk and a debate at Utah University. Now, here's the media. They never pointed out, or they rarely said the university. They just said at a Utah college. Because why? The college doesn't want the negativity. By the way, it's called Utah Valley College. Now, it is located, now I want to make sure I get it right. It's located in Orem, Utah. The zip code of Orem, Utah is 84058. Now, why is that important? Supposedly, they were initially, now they have since changed, but they were initially suspecting that the person, the sniper who shot Charlie in the neck, by which he died of that wound, was a Black person. Now, why would you initially just think that? So, Orem, Utah, and the college itself, Orem, Utah, has a zip code of 84058. In that zip code is 92,000 people with only 8,000 Blacks. So that means less than 1%. Less than 1% Blacks live in that zip code by which the university sits. So if a Black person was in the crowd, I'm sure you'd see them. You see them. Even if a person wearing all Black was in the crowd, I'm sure you'd see them. You see. So there we go with that. There we go with the all the insinuations and accusations of the person initially. Well, we don't live in Utah. We don't go to college in Utah. We don't assassin. Black people don't assassin. You do. White people do. You live in Utah. White people live there. 82% of the people who live in 84058 Orem, Utah are white people. So you should be looking for you, is what I'm saying. Now, again, I am not taking away from the sadness and the loss of his life. But don't come for us, we didn't do it, is what I'm saying. You once again are looking at the wrong shade, I'd say. I have this sense of the audacity to point towards us. And today, speaking of college, many HBCUs, historically Black college and universities, had to shut down and close their doors. Why? Because of the fear of retribution. Yet we're nowhere near that campus. Well, see, this is absurd. This is problematic, and this is problemsome, I'm saying. So as we start to talk about these things and look at these things, where he lost his life yesterday on September 10th, it's all the talk of today, September 11th, which is a pivotal crisis date of its own from 2001, by which we had the attack on America, 9/11. And in that case, there were nearly 3,000 people that lost their lives. And the attack was on not a small 90,000 capacity city, but the attack was on the Twin Towers. The attack was on the Pentagon. The attack was the deadliest dual planes, flight 7, what was the flight? I wrote the flight down. Flight 11 and 175, which were to this date the deadliest aviation disasters of all time, killing 3,000 people. Yet we're not talking about that today. We're talking about one man, Charlie Kirk. I've listened to the news all day long, which is why I decided to input, where our focus and our priorities are not, what I would say, aligned properly, balanced properly. addressed properly. Yes, again, I'm sorry, he lost his life. But we are talking about one man and forgetting about 3,000 others that lost their lives in a record all-time plane crash, the Pentagon and the Twin Towers versus a 90,000. I just don't see the ignorance, I would say, of 9/11 in behalf of this. And again, I'm very sorry for the loss of his life. I have other views about this, and I will share them with you in my next upload, because this is an introduction to why I think it's important to say who he is, especially to Black people who didn't even know his name until today, most of them, but yet are being looked at as the persons that caused the loss of his life. Well, this is nonsense. Wake yourself up and redirect your venom. If you've gotten this far, please click like, please click subscribe. If you don't agree with my views, that you have that right as well. Like I said at the beginning, we can agree to disagree respectfully. It doesn't mean we need to minimize the person. And this is why I can end this recording right now and still say, I love you. Love you, and I'll see you the next time. Good night.